Hey, good morning. I wanted to make a quick video to show you the power steering pump that I put in yesterday. And let's see, that's the pulley puller that I got on Amazon for about 20 bucks. And the anti-seize, I tend to put anti-seize or Loctite on just about everything. I don't know if that's the best practice, but I just tend to do that. So here we are looking at the power steering pump. Mine does not have the electrical speed something. I noticed that there were two types of power steering pumps. Mine is just the standard mechanical. There's no electronics going to it at all. So let's see, the first thing I did was remove the hoses. This one up here, and when you pull this bottom one off down here, it's going to start draining the reservoir, so you want to put a can or something under it to catch that. Then you're going to want to unplug your thermostat or your temperature sensor off the top of the engine, because you're going to want to get to this bolt right here, which is a 15. You've got to loosen the bolt on the center of the tension pulley. That bolt, when it's tight, it actually locks the pulley in place so it can't move. So you loosen this just a couple of turns, and then as you back this off, the pulley will drop and loosen your fan belt. Once you get it loose enough, you can just pull the fan belt up and off of this pulley and just kind of park it, drape it over the fan here, and it'll be completely out of your way. Then all you've got left are these three bolts. There's one here, and one right down here. And you don't need to remove this bracket. You just pull the bolts off. They slide out through these holes in the pulley. And then once the three bolts are out, this pump just lifts out. Just slide it this way and it comes right out. So it's fairly simple. Once you've got the power steering pump out, I purchased one that had the reservoir already on it. You've got to get the pulley onto your new one. So that's where this pulley kit comes in. So it was 20 bucks. If you think this is the only time you're ever going to do a power steering pump, then what you can do is just take your pump down to your local mechanic, your old one and your new one, and he'll swap it over most likely for 20 bucks. So that's an easy thing to do, and then you don't have to store a tool forever that you may or may not ever use again. So either way. So once you get this pulley off, it actually, I guess I can show you here. It comes with this sleeve, and then these clamp right around. So these go around there's a notch on the end of the pulley that those clip right onto. So you get those put around there. Then this goes inside. Then you clamp this together, put the sleeve on it, and then you just drive this thing right down. I think I actually used, I used one of these rams, and it just goes right inside the end of this. And it fits inside of here so it doesn't damage the threads that are in there, because there are threads. And then it just pushes this right off. So this goes in here. Kind of hard to do this with one hand. And then you thread it in there, and then just keep tightening until everything comes apart. And then putting it on, it'll be the reverse. You'll actually thread this into the end of your pump, so that just threads right in there. And then you'll just use this to push it on. So you actually don't need the collar and sleeve items. You're just going to use this setup with this, and then just push it on. You'll actually thread this on, and then you'll turn the nut that's on this to screw and push your pulley on. So make sure that you get it when you start and you're removing the pulley off of your old one. Look to see how far on it goes. And it appears that just as far as you can see on down here, that's about as far as the pulley will go on. I think you can overdo it. So there doesn't appear to be a stop on it, although maybe it is on the inside of this. So so maybe that is the stop. But I wasn't sure, so I actually compared it to my old one, and I got it to where I felt it was correct, and put the new one back in, hook up your hoses, get your bolts going through here. Then you're going to want to tighten your tension pulley. When the pulley is almost tight, you are going to want to check to see your belt. Ideally, you would check before you take it apart and see how tight your old one was, so you're kind of used to what was there. I like to keep it as loose as possible, so I start it with it kind of loose, fire it up, rev it a few times, see if anything's howling or whining. If it is, then I'll give it a couple more turns. And the tighter you make this, the more stress there is on the belt, and then the more stress you have on all of your bearings. So I try to keep it as light as possible. Once you get this tension where you want it to be, tighten up the bolt on the center of the tensioner pulley. Remember to put the plug back on your thermostat or temperature sensor, and you should be ready to go. Fill up your reservoir with either automatic transmission fluid or power steering fluid. I like the concept of using power steering fluid and carrying 3 or 4 bottles of let's start over here. I like the concept of using transmission fluid here and carrying 3 or 4 bottles of transmission fluid with you at all times. And then you've got fluid that will work in your transmission and in your power steering pump. So as far as your off-roading and being able to get back, limp back home, it's kind of nice that the same fluid is used in both places. For this one, I actually did use power steering fluid, but I do carry automatic transmission fluid with me. So once you get this all back together, you get fluid in here. If you can have the front jacked up and then turn your steering wheel back and forth several times, that'll get any air out of the system, and you should be ready to go from there. So these are notorious for being bad right from the factory. So if you go through all of this and it turns out your pump is howling and you can't get it to stop, that's just because it's a cheap pump. They are probably made in China, and you've got to swap it out for a new one. So, give it a day, drive it around, but basically if it's howling and it doesn't stop, kind of sounds like a blower or a supercharger on one of those cars, that whining, howly sound. If it's doing that and it doesn't go away within an hour, you pretty much have a bad pump. So you can, if you don't mind the noise, you can ride it out and see how long it lasts. Otherwise, you do need to return it and get a different one. So that's it. Hope you liked the video. Please like it and leave any comments. Thanks a lot.